Welcome to Bible for Modern Minds podcast.
Today we're going to follow just an extraordinary life. It's the journey of one man from being a devoted communist atheist in China through the firestorm of Tiananmen Square.
And then ultimately to becoming a global advocate for what might be the most persecuted church on the planet.
We have a really detailed personal testimony from him, and it's just a powerful look at how immense suffering, real suffering and political disillusionment can spark a radical transformation.
Right, and for you listening, the goal is to understand that shift. How does someone go from believing politics is the answer to, well, something else entirely?
And how does faith not just survive, but actually thrive when a state is actively trying to crush it? Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the backdrop of his early years.
So we have to start with the context. He was born and raised under communist China, and that means he was surrounded by indoctrination.
From day one.
From day one. From his first day of school, it was Marxism-Leninism. The education was very clear. There is no God.
And Christianity was singled out.
Oh, absolutely. It was the opium of the people, a tool of Western imperialists. That was the official line.
But that official doctrine, it just runs headfirst into the brutal reality of what was happening under Chairman Mao. He's growing up during a time that the CCP tried to, whitewash. They called it the 3 years natural disaster.
Which is just a completely dishonest label. It wasn't natural at all. This was a man-made political disaster.
Engineered by the Great Leap Forward.
Exactly. It led to what historians now call the Great Starvation. And the numbers, they're just staggering.
We're talking somewhere between 40 and 60 million people.
40 to 60 million Chinese people starved to death. It's almost impossible to get your head around that number.
And for him, this wasn't some statistic. This was his childhood, his mother.
Yeah.
She became a beggar to keep her kids alive.
She had to eat grass, tree roots, even dirt.
Just to survive.
And that diet, it destroyed her health. It left her with this chronic, debilitating lung disease.
Which leads to this pivotal moment, this story that just cemented his whole view on injustice. His mother is dying.
And he and his older sister are desperate. They go looking for help.
From one of those local officials, a barefoot doctor.
Right, and they know they have nothing. The doctor's wife, she realizes they can't pay.
And just slams the door in their faces.
The way he tells it, you can feel the desperation. His sister is kneeling, begging, even offering herself as a servant, a slave for life.
A slave for life, just for one visit.
And they were refused. The door was shut.
So imagine you're this little kid hiding behind a water barrel, listening to your mother coughing her lungs out.
And the system you're taught to believe in has abandoned you. The community has decided you're worthless.
It's in that moment of just total hopelessness.
He had nowhere else to turn.
So he cries out, not to God, not to Jesus. He doesn't know those names. He cries out to the heavenly grandpa.
Which was a name his mother used. When they were out begging, she'd talk about this figure who listened to the widows and the fatherless.
So that was his first prayer.
And the lesson he took from it is fascinating. At first he thinks, okay, poverty is the problem. If we had money, this wouldn't have happened.
But he quickly realizes that's not quite right.
No. Even in a system that preaches equality, money wasn't enough. Which takes us right into our next section, his pursuit of power.
Exactly. He figures out in high school that millionaires in China can still wind up in prison.
If they cross the party, sure.
So his thinking shifts. The only way to get real justice, equal treatment, is to become a party member, to become a leader.
And he was ambitious, really ambitious. He spent an entire summer doing research interviews.
And he writes what he calls his first State of the Union address.
This was not some school project. It was a massive thesis on reform, driven by this vow to become the first freely democratically elected prime minister in 20 years.
He was all in on changing the system from within.
Which put him right at the center of the biggest political moment in modern China.
Tiananmen Square, 1989.
He was a genuine student leader at that point. He organized the first big protest in his own city. Then he went to Beijing to join the millions there.
You can just imagine the energy, the feeling that they were actually on the verge of changing everything.
And then came the response, something none of them could have possibly imagined.
The massacre.
The shock was, it was just catastrophic. They believed the army, the People's Liberation Army, was there to protect them, not...
A lot of them.
Exactly. But they used tanks, machine guns on thousands of peaceful protesters. The political solution it died right there in a most brutal way.
And after the massacre came the betrayal.
He's facing these intense interrogations, and the pressure is so immense that his own friends, people he thought were his faithful followers,
They turn on him.
they lie about him to save themselves.
So now he's just
Yeah.
completely shattered. His political dream is dead. His friends have betrayed him.
He's filled with this rage. He's thinking about suicide, but he's also thinking about revenge. It's this vortex of hatred.
So we leave him totally broken. A dedicated atheist who tried to fix society with politics, and now he's consumed by hate. So here's where it gets really interesting. How do you come back from that?
The turning point was a book.
A book.
A smuggled book, handed to him by a classmate who could see he was falling apart. It was a biography of a man named Pastor Shi from the early 1900s.
Okay, so why this book? For a radical, atheist, political guy, what's the connection?
Pastor Shi's story mirrored his own despair, but it offered a different way out. Pastor Shi was an intellectual dying from opium addiction.
Totally broken.
Totally broken, until he was transformed by the Christian gospel. And crucially, he then took that transformation and put it into action. He started hundreds of opium prevention centers.
So he's seeing a model, someone who was broken, who was transformed internally, and that internal change led to real, tangible social reform.
Precisely. Reading this it totally transformed him. He was hit by this idea of becoming a new creation.
The concept from the Bible, 10 Corinthians.
Yes. That was the aha moment. He realized that all the communist education, all his own good intentions and political plans, none of it could touch the hatred that was in his heart.
It had to be an internal reset, not just a new policy.
It had to be a heart transformed from darkness to light. And that idea of the new creation offered him that.
So what happens then?
He immediately finds his American English teacher, a guy named Brent Hover. Turns out he was a secret missionary.
He just bursts in.
Bursts in and says he's seen a light. Brent, is understandably cautious. He thinks it might be a trap.
Sure, he could be a spy.
So he has him write down what happened.
Yeah.
And once he reads it, he sees it's genuine. They kneel down right there, and he leads him in a prayer to accept Jesus.
And the change is immediate.
The very next day, he says the hatred for his betrayers was just gone, replaced with compassion. He said he woke up and the birds start singing for the first time.
And he can't keep it quiet.
Not at all. He starts sharing the gospel right away. He even writes John 3.1 seat on the blackboard after class.
Which doesn't go unnoticed.
Oh, not for a second. His roommates immediately report him.
For being too happy.
They said he must have a psychological problem. B, no loyal party student should be joyful or talking about God after Tiananmen.
And then comes the official warning.
A state security agent grabs him in a park, tells him the university is the holy ground of the Chinese Communist Party, and he's not allowed to poison students with his superstition.
But that warning, it didn't scare him off.
No, it confirmed he was on the right path. He realized the party wasn't just afraid of political rebellion anymore. They were afraid of spiritual freedom.
And what's so strange historically is that the Tiananmen crackdown actually led to a revival.
A huge one. Thousands of students, disillusioned with politics, they came to faith right after the massacre, which led him straight into the persecuted house church movement.
Where suffering isn't seen as a bug, it's a feature.
It's part of the faith itself. You hear these stories of leaders like Pastor Young, who spent nearly 17 years in prison.
Or Pastor Alan Yan, over 22 years.
22 years and 8 months. And when he gets out, they won't even give him a national ID for another 10 years. He's a non-person.
And yet they come out saying, thank the Lord.
It's unbelievable. Which brings us to this concept they teach. Prison theology.
Prison theology.
It's described as the first course every believer needs to take. And it's not academic. The expectation of arrest is so real that pastors keep a prison kit ready to go every day.
A toothbrush and a change of clothes.
Ready at a moment's notice.
It's just staggering.
Oh.
But the result of all this repression, it's not what the party intended, is it?
Not even close. The numbers are just undeniable. In 1949, when the party took over, there were less than 1 million Christians.
Okay.
Purdue University estimates there are over 100 million.
100 million. That's 100-fold growth.
In 75 years, during the worst persecution in decades. They call it supernatural. Persecution became the fertilizer, not the poison.
And he experienced this school of suffering himself.
He did. He and his wife, Heidi, were thrown in prison for 2 months. He calls it his short-term prison theology course.
And even in there, he finds a ministry.
He sees the other prisoners, 20 or 30 guys in his cell, and he sees them as hungry, thirsty souls. He becomes their counselor.
Until the guards catch on.
They catch him teaching spiritual songs. A guard drags him out, threatens him with an electroshock baton.
So what does he do?
He goes back and adapts. He teaches everyone in his cell to give thanks to the Lord silently, just by hanging their heads.
A silent protest.
Silent act of worship. And it spread from his cell to the next, down the whole column. A powerful, invisible act of unity right under the guards' noses.
So if you connect this to the bigger picture, the Chinese church doesn't see persecution as a setback.
Not at all. It's a confirmation of their faith, a privilege. They really live out that idea from Philippians, that it's a gift not only to believe but also to suffer for Christ.
And this whole experience, it just completely redefines his life's mission. The political goals are gone.
He realizes that political force can't fundamentally change a society. You can change a law, but you can't change a heart that's full of hate or greed.
Only the gospel, he concludes, can do that.
So Jesus becomes the only hope for real change, for individuals and for the nation.
Which leads him to found his ministry, China Aid.
Their mission is what they call the 3 E's. To expose the persecution to the world, to encourage the persecuted families, and to equip the leaders of the underground church.
And their primary tool, their most powerful weapon, is prayer.
But he also has a pretty stark warning for the rest of us, for the free world.
Based on what he's seen.
Yes. He sees the same patterns of persecution evolving into discrimination in what he calls spiritual wars right here in the U.S. and Europe.
And he draws a direct line from CCP philosophy to things he saw during the pandemic.
He points to American mayors and governors who called churches non-essential but kept casinos and Walmart open.
He argues that's the first step.
He says the moment the state gets to decide that your faith is non-essential, you're fighting the same philosophical battle. The state is trying to control what matters most.
And this threat has followed him personally.
Oh, absolutely. He talks about an incident in 2019 where over 100 thugs surrounded his home in West Texas.
In Texas.
In West Texas, issuing threats, using fake bombs, trying to intimidate him into silence. He and his family had to go into hiding for 3 months.
So after that whole journey, from orphan to atheist leader to persecuted pastor, what does it all mean for him now?
It means that the old political ambition is just gone, replaced by something else. He says he would not trade his current role, being an ambassador for Christ, for that prime minister job he once dreamed of.
You found a different kind of power.
A power that he believes can actually overcome oppressive systems in the long run.
It's an incredible story of resilience, isn't it? Moving from believing political force was the only answer to realizing that real change has to start in the human heart.
And you can't ignore that central paradox we talked about. The worst persecution in 40 years, and the faith grows 100-fold.
The speaker says the one thing his enemies demand is that he stop being a voice for the voiceless. He answers by pointing to the Bible how visiting the imprisoned or feeding the hungry are seen as serving Jesus himself. And that makes us ask, what non-essential action are you being called to defend or pursue in your own community? Something the powerful might not value, but that you know holds the key to real, lasting transformation. That's a powerful thought to take with you.